I guess if I go back to where I did my PhD, so I'm Canadian. So I did my PhD at the University of Toronto, and I did it in a collaborative program in global health and rehabilitation science. So because of that, when I finished my doctoral program, I was really interested in looking more at the intersection of global health, international development, and occupational therapy. So I went on to do a postdoc that focused more on the global health component at the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine. And following that, I worked for UNICEF. So here in the US, UNICEF's headquarters is in New York. So I worked there for a couple of years on their data and analytics team. So UNICEF at the time was trying to figure out better ways to gather data on children and youth with disabilities. So I was brought on to provide the disability perspective. So I worked for that UN agency before coming to NYU, and I've been here now for 3 years as an assistant professor. So myself, I do identify as an occupational scientist. I also identify as an occupational therapist, and for me, one informs the other. So I think all together, it was a good fit. Particularly, I found my occupational science lens has enabled me to have a much better understanding of macro level issues. And working for international organizations, all of the focus is at the macro level. So I have a couple studies on the go. So right now, my area of interest is really related to school violence that children with disabilities experience. So a lot of my work is in low and middle income countries, and so I have a study right now in the country of Zambia, and Zambia has been in many ways a champion in terms of inclusive education. A lot more children with disabilities are going to school. But one thing so this was something that I think is fantastic and I'm very much encouraging, and feel like it's every child's right to go to school, and communities are better when children with disabilities are going to the same schools as other children. There's many reasons for that. I've done so far a pilot study, and then I have funding for another couple of years. And so far I've been working with youth with disabilities in the country to help develop tools that we can use that are culturally appropriate to speak to students about their experiences in school, particularly when it comes to bullying from peers, corporal punishment from teachers, and sexual abuse from teachers. And here in the US, I'm really interested in how are OTs responding to bullying against children with disabilities. So if we know that a lot of OTs work in school settings, and if we know probably like half of the children that we're seeing as our clients are experiencing bullying, what are we as OTs doing to respond to that? For many reasons. I think one is that it really helps us to articulate what our evidence base is to what we do. So think that our core construct and our definition of occupation is really important, and I believe in it, but I think we need a lot more evidence in terms of how we think about it, how we understand it, how we examine it. And I think through occupational science has really pushed a lot of that research in terms of how we're asking the questions and how we're carrying out the research. And I guess one thing I've also really come to appreciate with occupational science is also how it's framed, how we think about occupation. So it's been in sort of like nothing's positive or negative, but it exists. And then, one of our previous faculty members, Jim Hinomosa, and meant a lot to our field of OT as well. He always talked a lot about how we need to develop personal relationships to ensure that during difficult times of our lives, we're going to have people to rely on. My occupational balance is making more of those personal connections, like taking the time to have lunch with people and talk to them about things work-wise and not. Learn to be reflexive in terms of what are your assumptions and what are your biases, and we all hold those, but it's really important to understand what they are, so that, say, when you're meeting a client who might think something differently, and you have you maybe don't like that, it's okay to disagree, but knowing why you disagree. Yeah, again, because of the training I received, I was always a part of a department of OS and OT, and so I was not raised, but raised in my school, I guess, to believe that they're complementary and you can't have one without the other. So that's how I think about them and how I've always thought about them. And so for me, it's really difficult for me to see them as separate. But that's just because of my training, that I always thought that occupational science has really been able to inform what we do as OTs, and then OTs in terms of practicing and some of the clinical issues that we've had has then been able to inform some of the questions for OS. So I see them as incredibly complementary, and it only makes each profession stronger.